few facts about suicide that I want to just run through even as we begin is that for every suicide, there's so many more people who attempt suicide than the ones who actually are successful. So prior suicide attempt is an important risk factor for suicide in the general population. So there's also suicide that is the fourth leading cause of death in Africa among 59-year-olds. And 70% of global suicides do occur in low and middle income countries, such as, for example, countries like Kenya and countries in East Africa, South Africa, all over the globe, basically, but mainly in low and middle income countries. The pressures are definitely different there, and of course, suicide is an illness, and we acknowledge this at the beginning of the webinar. Some of the ways that people have had to die by suicide is by some very cruel methods. And unfortunately, this is one of the things that we need to talk about when we prevent, and also how we report issues in the media about suicide. So without further ado, I'd like to say that, give a trigger warning for anybody who feels that this is a heavy topic. There's Grace who is in with us. Just wave, if you don't mind, Grace, feel free to wave everybody and just want to introduce your presence. That will be here in case of the topic becoming too triggering or too heavy for any of us. And I don't know if you can hear me, Grace.
Yes, I can, Claire.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. It's a privilege that we have you in case of any triggering topics that we come across. And thank you. And without further ado, I'd like to begin by introducing our lovely guests who have made this webinar much more special by having their stories. And I just want to say thank you, because this is not an easy topic to discuss. I want to introduce Ms. Jennifer Dafwat, who is a brand and marketing communication personnel with over a decade of experience in media and communications industry. She helps brands identify their target audience, understand what they should be communicating to their audience, and reach the hearts of those audiences effectively. So this is Jennifer Dafwat from Nigeria.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, Jennifer, for being here. We also have Jaletta, Teressa, I believe I'm saying that right, who's a senior mental health professional at Nekemte Specialized Hospital and a lecturer at a college in Ethiopia, and who has lived experience with depression and also chronic physical illnesses. Welcome, Jaletta.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Welcome. I'm here with you. Okay, thank you.
We also have Wariirimi coming from Jaletta from Ethiopia. We also have Wariirimi, who is from Kenya, and is the leader of Let's Go Mental, an NGO based in Kenya, and that talks about mental health and mental health initiatives. Welcome, Wariirimi. Can you hear me, Wariirimi? Okay, I can see you, but I can't hear you. But
can you hear me now?
Yes. Welcome, Wariirimi.
Thank you. It was my earphones. I think they have a problem. Thank you so much for having me here. I know I was supposed to have sent you an introduction, so maybe I can also just add, other than being the founder of Let's Go Mental, I also live with depression and chronic anxiety. Thank you.
All right. Amazing. Thank you for joining us. In fact, now that you have begun, I'd just like to begin with you, Wariirimi, today. And even as you feel free to add anything I missed in the introduction, I'd like to just come on over to you and find out why you feel this is an important experience to talk about.
Okay, so the reason why I think it's a very important topic to discuss is because people don't understand it at all. Yeah, people don't understand it. People feel like the perception out there is that let these people die, you know. Like recently there was I'm sure you know this page because you're from Kenya, Kenyan Direct Dictionary, and they put a video of this mother. So their son had told the mother that he wants to kill himself, and then the skit was such that now this mother took a stool, got onto the tree with a rope and started telling him, oh, now in Kiswahili, if you want to kill yourself, you want to kill yourself, let me help you, you know. And I made a comment there and I told guys that it was a very professional comment, and just telling guys that, you know, you need to be very sensitive when it comes to suicide, because like this video you've put up, it might trigger someone, encouraging people to read about mental health and stuff like that. And some of the comments I got were very, but if the person wants to do it, why are you getting affected? Why is it about you? You know, so someone was telling me I'm being selfish
Wow.
I'm being selfish for caring for someone who wants to commit suicide. You understand?
Yeah.
So he was calling me selfish for not wanting to have that person who wants to die by suicide to kill themselves. You know, so I think it's a very important topic, and also the aspect of not understanding. I have not gotten to the place where I have attempted suicide, but I've really struggled with suicidal thoughts, and some of them come unexpectedly. Like I am okay one day, the next day I feel like I'm done with this life. I don't want to do it anymore. And then I've also had the moments where like it's a long period, you know, like maybe a month, 2 months, and I'm there just thinking about suicide. So people also need to understand like how exactly does someone feel, you know, this is suicide, but how does someone feel? What gets someone to that particular situation? So that's why I think it's very important to speak about it. It's also a taboo topic in Kenya and in Africa, and even globally. It's still a conversation that people are not comfortable with having. So we need to now start picking up so that we can make it a normal conversation. Yeah.
I hear you, and as I also hear that the perception of suicide itself is a problem. Also, that I'd like to mention the fact that we lean towards say using the vocabulary dying by suicide as opposed to committing suicide to avoid the guilt on the victim. So thank you so much for your intervention in that situation. And personally, you mentioned that you haven't personally had an experience with suicide in terms of going attempting or but you already have been at the place where you know that you don't want to live beyond this moment. So what happened and what was the most powerful lesson that you learned at this point, Wariirimi?
Okay, I didn't hear you very clearly. You broke off a bit.
I'm
but
sorry about that.
Yeah. So from what I think you're asking is what made me be able to overcome the thoughts, or
Yes.
what's the question?
What was the most powerful lesson you learned in overcoming what you went through during this period?
Oh, okay. So the most important thing that I learned is about reaching out for help. Support. One of the things that I keep saying about condition, I was diagnosed in 2015. And one of the things that I really, really appreciate is my family, some friends, you know, who have been there for me. So that support has really, really helped me. I remember there was a time when I happened to be not in a good place, but I was not suicidal. And I remember that it was the night and I wanted to go out. I was like, I don't want to be in the house. I want to be around people. And I went out and I danced and I did whatever. You know, I had a very, very good time. And when I got home, like I got home around 1 and I was done with life. Like I was completely done. I just couldn't explain it, you know. And for some strange reason, okay, let me not say for some strange reason, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, and God led someone to give me a call at 1 a.m. at night. Someone had not talked to in a while. And he kept calling and calling and calling. So I kept wondering what's wrong with this guy. So eventually I picked up. And the funniest thing, the guy asked me, are you safe? Like, he didn't ask me a question. He just said, I don't know why I'm feeling. Are you safe? So I told him, no, I'm not trusting myself. So he was like, okay, who's the closest person to you? Because he lives quite far from me. Who's the closest person to you? So I sent him the number. He called that person. The person came for me, So just having just that support, having people, when you say you're suicidal, having people just to come and see me. I've had so many people coming to see me. So yeah, support. For me, support has really, really helped.
Amazing. And I also like that you mentioned
Yeah.
the resilience that comes from our faith as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Wariirimi. And another thing that we often wonder about, for example, in our African culture, do you think there's a disconnect between how we view suicide and our African culture? Because as you explained earlier, you were explaining about a situation happened in Kenya and the perception. Do you think culture also has something to do with how we deal and how we respond to suicide?
Yes, definitely. There's a very crucial role in our mental health matters. And of course, we know the first thing is that the perception that people have around mental health and suicide is that that person is cursed or that family is cursed. That's why they have these mental health issues, This person either went and sacrificed, I don't know what, and that's why they are suffering because of this, This person went to see a witch doctor, that is why this family member, this and this is happening, So there's a lot of that aspect of culture, and also the way it was still quite taboo at that time. And I think, I don't know whether there's a particular tribe in Kenya, I don't know whether it's the Luyas, who, if someone died by suicide, they bury them at night. They don't bury them during the day. So there was something like that. Or there's this other thing, if someone dies by suicide, like the funeral is very hush and very quick, And when you ask what happened, no one is really telling you, but then there's speculation of people. So there's a lot of aspect about culture and it being a taboo and it being a curse. The most interesting thing is that my aunt on my mom's side was telling me that my great grandmother actually attempted suicide.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can imagine there's my mom, then my grandma, and then now my great grandmother. So she actually attempted suicide by trying to hang herself on a tree. And you see, my aunt was trying to tell me that because this was when I was first diagnosed, and of course there was that thing of, oh my God, how can this be happening to me? And she was just trying to tell me that, even these things used to happen back in the day, these attempting suicide, these mental illnesses. So I feel like we still have a long way to go because we are still very intertwined in our culture. So there's still really a lot that is needs to be done. And see, as I was saying, even some of those comments online, these are people who are young people. We're talking about millennials, Gen Z, but they still have that roughness when it comes to suicide, So it definitely does play a very, very big role. And also religion as well. Religion also plays a very crucial role. And it's very unfortunate that it's looked at, if you attempt suicide or if you die by suicide, you'll go to hell, And as opposed to probably the church bringing in someone and telling them, okay, we know you have this assistance, how can we support you? But they will just go straight to prayer. They will bring a whole prayer group to your house to pray for you, which is okay. Come pray for me. But have you tried to find out the root cause of my issue? You understand? Have they been able to do that? But they actually don't take the time to do that. But one of the things that I've noticed that there are a couple of churches now in Kenya that are starting to have mental health conversation. Some of them even already have programs that are running around mental health. So at least in the religious space, there's a lot of work that's being done. But speaking as a Christian, I can see there's a lot of work being done there. And we also need to remember that it's not only Christians who are shunned by the church. We have Muslims who are told that they're not praying. We have Buddhists. There's a friend of mine who has a friend who's Buddhist and she has depression. And when she went to speak to, now I don't know, say the priest of the Buddhist, he told her that the reason she has depression is because she's not meditating enough. So even in other religions, it's still not really accepted. So yeah, so that's what I can say about culture and about religion.
Thank you so much for sharing so beautifully, Wariirimi. And especially the note on religion and culture is something that we'd like to learn more about, even as we share from different countries. I just wanted to also thank you for sharing that right now. I mean, as feedback to your experience, you feel support is the greatest thing. So thank you so much for your insight, even as we keep track of the mental health month that is September, Suicide Prevention Month. We'd like to also jump over to Jennifer Dafwat from Nigeria. Jennifer, welcome. Please feel free to add anything that I did not add at your introduction, and feel free to tell us why this is so important for you to delve into as a person.
No, I think you've done a good job in introducing me. And I'll just go into why, I'll just go into why this is important for me. For me is that this is my personal experience, so meaning I am a suicide survivor. And it's very common, or it's very easy to downplay being a survivor, right? In my experience. Oh yeah, I attempted suicidal, but I'm living through it. Oh, it's common. But no, it's not common if you do realize the things that led you down that path, right? And so it's very important to me to speak out because it's my way of getting back my power. While Wariirimi was talking about those dark moments, I know that even though I have made so much progress in, living post my suicide experience, there are still days that are not so bright and sunshiny. And so in those days, you need something to hold on to as an anchor. And your ability to see yourself as powerful, see yourself as important, see yourself as necessary or needed on earth, right? Those are the things that will keep you going through those days. And the truth is, even before the particular incident or my particular suicide incident, there were so many other, maybe not attempts, but there were so many other thinking of doing those idealizing or ideating on suicide. In those moments, I realized that the things that kept me, that stopped me those other times, were remembering, giving myself reasons to stay alive, right? So this conversation is so important because it is reinforcing a reason, not just for me to stay alive, but for everyone listening to us on this call and going back and thinking, and it may not be you personally, but interacting with anybody who is having to deal with, suicidal tendencies and thoughts. It is necessary to reinforce their power. And so this is important for me because speaking about it is saying a life matters. A life matters in every sense of the word. And so that power needs, having our voices is power, Sometimes if you read through history, or in dictatorial settings, one of the things they do to take away your power is to take away your voice, your ability to speak, your ability to stand out, right? And so speaking about it is reinforcing that power, is putting power back in your hand. And so when dark days come, you remember that I am powerful. And my power does not have to be in anything grand that I've achieved or anything grand that I am, or it's just that someone somewhere has heard me speak. Someone somewhere is counting on me to stay alive. And so that is enough.
Thank you. Thank you for putting that so beautifully. Our power is everything. And this is why we are sharing today, you know, as much as it's a heavy topic, I read somewhere yesterday actually that it doesn't matter what reason keeps you going during those dark moments. It doesn't matter how, well, silly it seems. It could be, you know, making sure it could be going to mall tomorrow keeps you going. It could be something small like meeting a friend or something small to hold on to and give you hope at dark moments. So I really do appreciate you sharing this, and also wanted to just find out how was your experience and what are the most powerful lessons you learned that you might want to share with us, Jennifer.
One of the most powerful lessons that I learned in my experience is that living is every day, right? And living and the reason to live is an everyday experience and an everyday reminder. So it doesn't matter that today I feel powerful, I feel alive, I feel confident, or I'm resilient, and today I'm not thinking about taking my own life, right? But I don't know what tomorrow will be like. So every day I have to come into every day with I come in battle ready to say that I lived yesterday, I lived through yesterday, I'm ready to live through today again. And so that's one of the powerful lessons. It's not, for me, it's not just that I lived yesterday and so I can, you know, relax and let maybe negative thoughts foster, or I can step back from taking some of the habits that I'm consciously, you know, doing to stay to stay healthy in my mind, right? To have a very healthy mental state. But it's not just a one day thing. So I have a healthy mental state today means I have to make efforts tomorrow. So that's one of the biggest lessons that I took, because the day that I came to the conclusion that and I've had two of those incidences. The first time I had that experience, I overdosed on my medication because I was being treated for clinical depression and anxiety. And I overdosed on my medication that day, but it lasted, the effect wore off about after a few hours. And my friend who was with me in the house had said she knew something was wrong, but she didn't know. But it was as though I was hallucinating from the effect of the drug. So a few months down the line, I tried again and I told myself, okay, since I didn't take enough the first time, I'm going to take more now. I'm going to, you know, mix a combination of this and that, right? To take, and so that I just know that I don't wake up. Because I was careful, like I don't want to wake up tomorrow morning. So let me be sure that I take enough. Now, I bring these two examples because before each day, the day before, I didn't think that I was going to take my life the next day. It was just maybe a bad day going through. I didn't think that I was going to attempt it. So this is why I say that my greatest lesson is that I don't come into a new day thinking, oh, today is the day I'm going to take it. Yeah, sometimes for some people you plan towards it. But I think from interacting with a few other people, even when you plan towards it, it's sort of just a moment where you just say, okay, you know what, this is the moment. But you don't even consciously know when that moment is. So the need to live through life with my guards up, with, constantly taking care of my mental health, constantly doing the things I know I need to do, constantly staying in community, constantly staying accountable, and like Wariirimi said, constantly, being with people and just doing the things that you need to know, you need to do, because I mean, you don't plan on doing it. You don't plan on taking your life that day, but there's a need to stay ahead of, your mental health struggles. And as my therapist will say, is the reason for taking care of your mental health is so that you do not degenerate. And that journey is a daily journey. It's not once and for all. And that's one lesson that I learned.
Wow, amazing. So basically healing is a journey and not a destination, right?
Yes.
I appreciate your strength and your courage to share what happened. I also feel that it's really important when we share and also share our stories and feedback, especially with regards to culture and religion as well, because we are in the African continent and it plays a huge role. And I wonder, what was your experience with that, Jennifer?
Okay, I was thinking of this webinar today and I thought, how has being an African impacted you? And for me, two things that stood out for me was, one, we're generally a happy people,
Yeah.
we are, our communities, our culture is full of dancing and, being happy and being outgoing and being all of these things. So much that if you're not that, you're sort of looked on as what's the word, as the strange one. Yeah. And so growing up, I realized that as a younger person, as a child, I was a bubbly, outgoing person. But when I look back now with benefit of hindsight and knowledge, I realized that it was just a mask. I was doing it because it was what the culture required. So you see, when you now start struggling with your mental health, the culture sort of doesn't allow you to show it. So you just find yourself trying to fit in. And then you now go back to your closet and you're alone and you're crying and you can't really communicate. So that's one of the things that I find that it sort of affects speaking about our mental health journeys within the African context, right? And even tied to that is also the concept where, I find it strange and I find it an irony that even though we are a happy people, outgoing set of people, we're still the same people who maybe your parents will tell you, oh no, we don't wash our dirty linen in public. So yes, we can socialize, we can do all of those things, but no, we hide what is going on, inside. We don't tell anybody. And so that also that idea of we don't wash our dirty linen in public goes on to affect our ability to seek help and to seek support and structures outside of ourselves, because you're thinking this is a secret, this is supposed to be just about me. Yes, you have a right to privacy, that's given. However, you must be careful that your 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 deciding or your decision to keep quiet is not being swelled by an African communal mentality of, oh, we celebrate outside but we keep our dirty linens in, right? So I think these are some of the two things that I noticed or at least while I was reflecting about my African experience and having to deal with a mental health struggle.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I think it's common everywhere. Maybe not even in the cultural context alone, but also in a global context. Nobody wants to share their struggles in public. I find that you still feel like you want to hide your struggles, but you talk about strength being vulnerable as well and sharing your experience and sharing the power that comes from there. And to anybody who's going through this right now, what would you say to them in a few words? What would you say that could encourage them to seek help? Because culture at times prevents early intervention, is what I hear from you. Anything else that you would add to somebody going through this dark thoughts at this point? And obviously suicide is again, we want to say it's an illness, and so there's no stigma, there's no shame in suicide. And just as a trigger warning, a trigger response to any triggers that you might come across, we just want to remind you that we have Grace, who's a psychologist who's on standby. Feel free to reach out to her. But back to you, Jennifer. What would you say in a few words to somebody going through these dark moments right now?
One of the first things I'll say is it's not all in your head.
Right.
It's not all in your head. Feel free to verbalize it, because so in my experience also, there were days where when you ask me, Jennifer, how are you? To be honest, I'm fine, or I feel fine, right? But I will then go back to my closet or to my room. I'm now alone, and yet I'm battling certain thoughts. And so I kept wondering, okay, what's going on? Am I just fine? But where are these thoughts coming from? Because I'm like, okay, I feel fine. But the truth is, you think you feel fine, but the presence of those thoughts mean that there's something that needs to be checked. And so don't think that it's just in your head. There's a place where you can rationalize and say, okay, no, this is just in my head, it's just happening, or no, speak out. Don't rationalize. It's not just in your head. You're not the only one going through it. Speak up. It's one of the first things I'll say, because I probably would have never gone into treatment if I did not speak up. I was having a random conversation with a friend, and really, it was because I kept oscillating between fine and not fine. What's going on? I'm okay, I'm not okay. And I just said, we were having a conversation that had nothing to do with mental health. And I just said, can I share something with you? She's like, yeah. I was like, I keep having this thought, sometimes I want to take my life. And so I don't know, is it normal? Do people have those conversations? I really was bringing the conversation from inside my head and using my mouth to have it, because one of the things that if you're in therapy does for you is you have someone else listen to what the conversation going on in your head, and give you a perspective that you're unable to give yourself. So it doesn't have to be professional therapy, but just get out of your head and speak out, verbalize the very thing that the very thoughts that you're having. It will be one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, because again, even if you go in for a psychiatrist evaluation or anything, you will have to speak. Your ability to even go for a psych evaluation is you getting out of your head and saying, you know what, even if it's just in my head, let somebody at least reinforce that and say, oh no, this is it. And if it's not just in my head, then I can get help. Either way, you win. You don't lose on any count. But really, don't stay in silence. Speak up. It's not all in your head.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Vocalize, vocalize, vocalize is what I hear. And that's such a powerful lesson, because it gets us out of trouble, especially when we need the support most. And even as we continue the conversation, I'd like to bring in Jaletta Teressa from Ethiopia. Jaletta, you're welcome. Sorry, we had ladies first, but we have been waiting to hear from you as well. And just as we begin, why do you feel this is important to speak about? And have you faced this as a topic in your culture?
Okay, thank you everyone. Okay, it is really a great opportunity to share our lived experience, and it is important to share our lived experience and regarding suicide, surviving suicide or a mental health condition. Because when we share our lived experience, it can be an input for other individuals who are suffering from a similar problem, and it can be they can give a way for others to find another alternatives to deal with their situations. So, so sharing our lived experience is important for supporting others, and it is also very it also gives satisfaction for us when we share our lived experience by getting valued for our voice. So it is very important to share our lived experience. It has a great power to change the life of others.
Thank you. And did you feel like there was an effect of how your experience with culture and religion, how has that been in your context? And do you feel like it has an effect of how suicide is perceived?
Okay. Okay, thank you. First, I can share from my lived experience, and also I can
Yeah.
share from my professional experience, because I am
Yeah.
a senior mental health professional. I have a history of chronic physical illness, which is a cardiac illness. I have been suffering from this cardiac illness for about 7 years, and I was on medication for 7 years without interruption. And during this moment, I was suffering from a severe and unbearable pain of chronic illness, and it was happened when I was at a secondary school, almost when I was a young age. And it continued throughout when I completed my secondary education, and when I was in higher education or university. So during this time, I was suffering from medical illness or cardiac illness, and I was on medication. So this chronic illness has a great impact on my life. It has declined due to this effect of medical illness. I have declined in my academic performance, and also I have limited in my interaction with other social interaction, and also I become dependent on my family and other for my daily activities. So this was a very suffering moment I have passed in my life situation. Due to this limitation in my capacity or social interaction, I became depressed and I become hopeless, and I have lost the meaning of life in this situation. So I have started to balance which one is better, to live or not to live. And I have started to wish die, or I want to be relieved from this suffering at that moment. So, but I have a very supportive family and friends, and I have continued my treatment follow-up for my physical illness, and I have been getting support from my family. In case when there was a severe depression or pain, I have also visited a mental health professional or psychiatrist for my depressed mood or for my hopelessness. And I also get a treatment from a psychiatrist. So I have continued my follow-up and treatment for about 7 years. Later on, I came to be improved from my illness, and I am coming to be relieved from my depression. So, but at the beginning of the illness, I was not aware of my mood and my hopelessness. I was only focusing on my medical illness or my physical illness, and I have delayed to visit psychiatrist for my medical for my mental illness. So in that case, I have a suicidal wish, but I haven't committed or I haven't attempted any suicidal action, but I have a continuous suicidal ideation, but at that moment. But when I started to get treatment from my mental health professional or psychiatrist, I have get improved from my mood, and later on, I have recovered from my medical illness, and later on, I become fully relieved from my depression. So this is the moment I have passed during my medical illness, so that
Hello, Jaletta, can you hear us? I think the video has paused a little bit, probably a network issue. Can you hear us? Hello?
It could be a problem with his internet connection issue.
Yeah, yeah. But even as okay. So even as we wait for him to get back, we just want to pick one comment in the comment section that says evidence shows that sharing our experiences has the biggest impact on ending stigma and discrimination in mental health. And it's vital to speak up, not only for our own healing, but for the healing of our communities. So this is what Jaletta was powerfully mentioning that Sandra posted in the group. Thank you, Sandra, for that comment. Even as we wait to go back to hear, to go back to Jaletta, we have Arnold, who is also part of the Global Mental Health Peer Network. And Arnold, I'd like to welcome you to share your story briefly, even as we move towards the question time. Arnold, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm around. I'm okay, and nice to meet you guys. I'm very honored to be in this webinar, and thank you for having me. So my journey is a long one. I was born like any other person. I had no mental health issues, but at the age of 13, I started using drugs. The drug of choice was marijuana. And as time went on, and of course the dosage was increasing. So like by 2007, I was in my third year in university. I was studying from Uganda at Makerere University. So that's when like I first had my bout of illness, of mental illness. Yeah. So I was diagnosed with drug-induced psychosis. And at the age of 21, having an illness is not good at all. So yeah, so I've been in and out of psychiatric hospitals, and the issue of mental illness also like comes up. I mean, the issue of suicide, yeah, it comes up sometimes. Mostly, I believe like hope can help people with suicidal issues, mostly when they have opportunities, when they're not isolated, like when they don't self-isolate, they could have a way of combating it when they have people to talk to, when they have support mechanisms. Like for my case, I remember it was around 2016, and I had just been fired from a job, and it was because of like them knowing my issues. Yeah. So during that time, I started getting depressed and thinking about suicide. I remember I went somewhere, I got 80 aspirins and took them at, yeah, just like that. Yeah, because I had researched and thought maybe it could work. Yeah, it could give me the quick fix I needed. So yeah, but I just got sick maybe for only 3 days and I was all right again. So from that time, I haven't had the same issues again. Yeah, but I believe hope is something good. So when you have people to talk to, when you have something to live for, you're thinking positively, you're getting ahead in life, these issues, they become minimal. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Arnold, and for sharing such a personal experience. And just want to say we're glad you're here. We're glad that we're glad that you're here, and I'm glad that everybody who has ever had such an experience is here today. I want to say that, and just as we go into wait to hear back to the concluding comments, I'd like to jump into the time of questions, answers, specifically any questions that have come up along the conversation. It's time to go ahead with the questions right now. Anybody with a burning question can add it in the comments or just unmute and go ahead.
Yeah. There was just a comment, sorry, from Edwin earlier that I just wanted to make you aware of. I'm not sure if you did see it.
Okay.
Let me just get there. Sorry, Edwin, I don't know if you're comfortable. Maybe you can just share what you shared on the chat. Edwin, if you're there. You're on mute.
Here. Yeah.
Hi guys, I hope everyone is okay. Today I decided to check myself in. I have not been okay, but most people wouldn't know because I'm still performing optimally. So I'm actually in my hospital bed at the moment. My doctor is coming in for a review later, but it has been up and down, but these conversations are the kind of conversations that people need to hear. And that is why I joined, because one, I had the energies left in me to still join. And at the same time, I wanted also people to understand and appreciate the fact that just because you are down for a minute or two, or even for a month or for a day, it doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't mean that you're weak. In fact, I am one of the strongest people I know, and that is me validating myself, because I don't need it to come from somebody else, because me realizing that I'm not okay, me realizing that there are people who look up to me, it's me to set the pace for myself and other people like me to know that you can walk into your hospital, and you can have a conversation with your doctor and tell them, I'm not feeling okay. What do you think we should do? And if talk therapy is not helping, check yourself in, and we sort things from there. So that's where I am, and it's. I just wanted to share that, and don't be worried about me. I'm actually okay. It's just a bit of rough patch, and I'll be okay. I'll be okay. And I'm a noisemaker generally because I have ADHD and all of those other things. So I had to say something. But I'm very happy for this conversation. I'm very happy that we are doing what we need to do in terms of suicide prevention and talking about mental health matters, especially at this critical time. And everybody who has been able to share, especially the panelists, you guys are awesome. You are awesome, all of you. I have listened to everyone, and it's really inspiring that despite all the challenges and all the struggles and the stigma that you have faced, you still have the strength to, stand up and say something and inspire and change the community around you. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of being associated with you. And I may not be at my 100%, but I think having the peer network as part of my peer support system it's awesome. It's awesome. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Edwin, and for sharing even in this very distressing space that you're at. We're so sorry to hear about the hospitalization, and we salute you for the strength to talk and share your experience here. This is a safe space for everybody. And even as we go on, I want to just jump onto something somebody said that I found was also really critical. Edna Usoro mentioned that the thing is, a lot of people are not listening or paying attention. People are in a hurry to compare whose day was worse. And I don't know if Edwina wanted to, if
Edwin.
There.
Edwin Bro.
Oh, sorry. I mean Edima. You got it. Oh, I mean Edima Usoro. My bad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Go ahead, Miss Edima.
Oh, hi everyone. Okay, this is a really interesting topic. First of all, we're talking about suicide. It's something, like you said, people don't normally discuss. And I was just remembering experiences. Sometimes we don't know what people are going through. Not talking about myself personally, but in the line of my job, I'm a media and communications officer. And I worked 6 years as an on-air radio presenter. So I've had these kind of experiences from other people firsthand where people don't listen. Everyone has ears, at least all things being equal, and we can all hear, but people don't listen. So even when people genuinely want to speak up, you realize that every other person, I don't know how it works in other African countries, but in Nigeria, which is the scenario I gave, you would see something like, oh, I don't feel too well, or I've had a really rough period. And then the person replies and it's like, yours is even better. Ha, if I tell you how my own has been, you will not be. So you've just shut that other person up and you've made it about yourself, like you're competing some form of, I'm sure if Jennifer is still on the call, she would probably understand what I'm talking about, how these things play out. And so people most times don't even want to share genuinely that this is what's disturbing me or this is the problem, because you don't get that chance to actually talk because the other person has jumped and just taken over the whole conversation of my day was worse than yours and all of that. And so you don't really find people. I'm just pointing out another reason to why people don't really speak up as they should. A lot of people do not listen. We all hear, but we're not listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That is so true. And I think if we paid a little bit more attention to each other, it would really assist in the early intervention of any suicide ideation that somebody may come across. And like all the panelists have pointed out, communication is one thing, but being heard is another. So even as a moderator towards the end, I feel like it's important for me to share that I've also had, in relation to what you just said, listening. I also had 4 suicide attempts that I had, and I only remember two. One was an overdose, one was I was in hospital and wanting to jump over. And what helped me was those around me listening to what I was not saying as well. So even as this conversation came up, it was really powerful for me to be here and to also share and speak, and also hear from everybody's perspective about suicide prevention. And as we wrap, just want to find out if there are any other burning questions that we can jump into as we wrap the webinar, because it's been such an amazing time of cultural discussions on why and how religion matters or shares, or rather why religion can be a point of resilience, or it can be something that prevents us from getting help. So just wondering if there are any more questions that anybody would like to share. Just jumping into the comment section. Everybody sending their love to everybody who has been in the workshop and the conversation. Any other person I might have missed out? Sandra?
No, Claire, nothing that I can pick up, just comments, sharing support and love for everyone. I'm just going to make a quick comment. I feel very emotional because it's difficult for people to share their stories and to be so frank about it in a space like this. And it is a global space. It shows an incredible amount of bravery. And I often speak about the impact that's unseen. There might be people on this call or people who watch the recording or whatever it may be that literally just need to hear a sentence that has been said today. And, that's the impact that we don't always see. So just to share your story has a massive impact globally. So I just want to thank everybody for being here today, those who presented, for your powerful experiences, and for, again, obviously just being here today. And as Jennifer said earlier, living is every day. So we live every day and we survive every day and we fight every day. And most importantly, we love ourselves and we love each other every day. And to you, Claire, thank you for, moderating like a superstar. And just from a global office perspective, again, thank you everyone who joined today and to our presenters. And I wish you all the best always. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you for being here. Again, we're glad you made it, and keep fighting and keep being encouraged. Thank you.